Good morning everybody, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm down here in the city on George Street. The light rail is approaching, and what I'll do is I'll board the light rail and go down to Circular Quay to continue today's 5am Club. It's a little bit breezy today, so I'm not sure where I'm going to be when I get down to Circular Quay. But I think I might go to wharf number 6 just to get out of this breeze, just so that we don't get some buffeting on the microphone. But today's book summary is entitled The Algebra of Happiness by an author known as Scott Galloway. So we'll see how we go. Let's move up the carriage. So here we are, we're in the light rail on our way to Circular Quay. So I'll just start the book summary and progress through it and see where it takes us. So the author in this book kicks off with an interesting quote where he suggests that struggle porn will tell you that you need to be miserable before you can be successful.
The next stop is Circular Quay.
This isn't true. You can experience a lot of reward along the way to success, is the bottom line from the author. But this book is entitled The Algebra of Happiness, so the formula, the algebraic expression that the author uses to describe this outcome is x plus y equals happiness, where both x and y are variables, meaning that they change and they change in their proportions. So the bottom line is, according to the author, that we need to learn what numbers combine in order to make us happy. So the first structured point to come out of this book is that we need to understand and learn that trade-offs of variables are key to happiness. So regardless of what variables you have at play, we need to make decisions in our life in order to understand how these variables trade off, and to also understand the dynamics.
This stop is Circular Quay.
The dynamics between work and relationships in order to lead us to a happier and more fruitful life. So the key variables that the author talks about in this book and the dynamics that appear between work and relationships. So once again, in this formula that this book talks about is that there is a dynamic between two variables in our life. On the one hand, we've got work, and on the other hand, we have relationships. So in order to seek happiness and joy in our lives, we need to understand and work out how we can get the most out of work and the most out of relationships, but to also understand that there is a dynamic between these two variables. Too much work means that you'll have fewer relationships, or too many relationships and too much fun and play will mean you'll have less time for work. So I guess the bottom line is we need to work out a balance. So the key theme that comes from this book is that in order to have happiness in our life, we need to achieve a balance between work and play. Pretty simple sort of message, but you'd be surprised at how few people get this formula right, because at different stages of our lives we have temptation. We are tempted to spend more time playing and less time working, and vice versa. But the bottom line, as we've said, is that we need to find a balance, and each person's balance is a different balance, I would imagine. So the author here says that once again, it's all about balance, and we need to take care of our relationships, as they are the highest form of joy. Now, to all those people out there who go solo and who are selfish and want to spend a lot of their time just focusing on themselves, you've got to understand, according to this author, that comes at a price, because the highest form of joy, according to what this author is saying, the highest form of joy is the relationships that you have with people, the friendships you make and keep, the family you live with and share your time with, is paramount to enjoying your life. So regardless of how much money you have, regardless of how much money you get in your life, the highest source of joy, let's make no mistake, is the quality of the relationships that you have, the relationship that you have with yourself, the relationship you have with your family and friends, and of course, most importantly, the relationship you have with God. So we need to carefully monitor the trade-offs, the X and Y, the work and relationships that we have in our lives, because they vary, they change at each stage of our life, is one of the key observations. And I guess we all understand this. When you're young, you want to spend a lot of time with relationships, but you can't do it at the expense of work, and vice versa. When you get older, you need to find a balance between work and relationships. So balance, we hear it all the time. Balance is important and key. So let me go over here to get into the light so I can read a few more points off my notes here. The other thing that the author talks about, a key point here, is that once you achieve financial security, it's important to change focus to enjoy the hard-earned freedoms that you've earned. You need to spend more time on relationships and passions. And the temptation, of course, for many people is to keep on working, to keep on slaving away, because most people get this very, very wrong in their life. They don't understand how much is enough, and just keep on going, keep on cranking away, keep on working away, and don't form the relationships, don't enjoy or leverage the relationships that they have in their lives. And there is a risk that if you don't get the balance right, that you may blow the relationships you have and ruin your life. So because at the end of the day, the author reminds us that we need to sit back and understand that the reason why we work, the reason why we go through pressure, the reason why we study, the reason why we do a lot of the things we do, is because of the love of our families, to provide for them, to care for them, to have good times with them. And let's move off to the last point of this book, and it's probably the most powerful point of this whole book. And the author then reminds us that in order to be happy, you need to find the right partner and work hard to keep your relationship alive and strong. Now, whilst it sounds obvious, you say this to people in today's society and they'll look at you as if you're nuts, to even say that you need to find the right partner, where we live in a world where anyone will do, because it's all about temporary relationships. But the author here makes a very, very valid and strong point that it's all about, your happiness is all about finding the right partner and to work hard at keeping that relationship strong, because the deepest happiness comes from creating quality relationships and making them last. Who needs one-night stands? Who needs temporary friends? Who needs the lacquer of Facebook or social media, where it's fly in, fly out friendships? The author here makes a very, very solid point that the deepest happiness comes from creating quality relationships and making them last, having friends for life, as opposed to being best friends for a year, where you get sick of each other and move on to other social circles. So the next couple of points are also very, very powerful, but also prone to getting people's noses out of joint, because the author here reminds us that it's critical to search for a partner who is, first, emotionally stable. There's never been a better piece of advice, I think, for young people who are looking for relationships than this piece of advice here, to search for somebody who is emotionally stable like you. Then that sort of infers that you're emotionally stable as well, and who also aligns with your values and beliefs and likes you for what you are. Very, very powerful. And it's so powerful that I want to repeat it, because it's a very, very strong message to everybody. When you're looking for a partner, when you're looking for somebody to spend the rest of your life with, the author here says that you need to search for somebody who is emotionally stable, which infers that you need to be emotionally stable as well in order to attract somebody who's emotionally stable. So emotional stability is the key. Let me throw in there as well that you also need to find somebody who is happy with who they are and with who they are at the moment, so that they've got a happiness sort of level which is quite high and matches your sort of happiness level. They also need to like you for who you are and not to want to be out there trying to change you, I guess is the key message. And they need to align with your beliefs, to have similar sort of values, to have similar core beliefs, of similar sort of culture, of similar sort of religious background. And most importantly, the author here reminds us that we should not fall in love with being in love, a trap for many people. A lot of people want to fall in love because they're in love with being in love, and wanting to be wanted. Because the author reminds us that real love is slow and constant. And most importantly, when you're in a relationship, when you're in a loving relationship, don't keep score. As my mother used to say, namik senadizase, don't try and break partnership with the person and try and outdo the other person, but to try and stay in step wherever you can, to forgive wherever possible. And as my spiritual father also reminds me, that it's important to forgive and seek forgiveness from your partner on a daily basis, because we're always letting each other down. And not to compete with your partner, because competition creates contention, which leads to disintegration. So compete in terms of creating love and giving to each other, but don't compete by trying to take from the other and put pressure on the other. Give wherever you can, and give with love, I guess is the key point. So some powerful stuff to come out of this book, The Algebra of Love. We learnt today that happiness comes from the simple algebraic expression of x plus y equals happiness, where x and y are variables and the numbers that need to be combined in order to make us happy. The x and y is work and relationships, and we've learnt that the deepest joy comes from relationships, and we need to have a significant other in our lives. You just can't go through life on your own. But I guess you can, but you're not going to find the deepest sort of meaning and the deepest sort of love if you're on your own. So seek out relationships with people, because it's through relationships that pure and unadulterated happiness comes. But also know that pain and suffering can also be the product of relationships with the wrong people. The author here reminds us to be the source of joy, and that the quality of the relationships, the quality of the lasting relationships that we have, is also a measure of the quality of our life. And we need to search for a partner who's emotionally stable. And I guess it indicates that we also need to be emotionally stable in order to be the person that the other person is looking for, and to like you for who you are, for you to like yourself for who you are, and to ensure that the other person who comes into your life likes you for who you are, not for who you may be one day, or not to try and change you, and to align with your core beliefs. So let's finish up with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and let's take some of these hacks from this book, The Algebra of Love, and learn about ourselves, learn about other people, and continue to strive to keep the relationships alive, the love alive, and to make the most of the gift that we have, the gifts of relationships, the gifts of people, the gifts of love that we have in our lives. Wishing you all the best on this wonderful Friday. It's a day before the weekend, and we'll see where it leads us. And I'll hopefully come back to you again this morning later on with another couple of gyms 5 a.m. clubs, where we continue our path of growth and development, where we learn from OPE, other people's experiences. Yassas, Filakya, and we'll chat again shortly. Take care.